Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and SmartPro Financial are not affiliated. The persons appearing in this podcast are clients of SmartPro. Any discussion is based upon individual client experiences and may not be representative of the experience of others and should not be considered a guarantee or indication of future performance or success.
So, hey, I'm here with Courtney and Michael Chenkus. They are local real estate agents here in the Sarasota area, specifically Lakewood Ranch, Florida. And that's where our home office with SmartPro Financial is located here in Sarasota. And there's a few things that are really interesting about their story that we're going to get into. But one of them is they are actually clients of SmartPro Financial and Ramsey fans. And so as business owners, as high-performing real estate agents and business owners, we wanted to talk to them about their experience and also how to help our clients and future buyers, sellers of real estate, and people that maybe look at it as an investment into the future for them outside of their traditional investments and mutual funds, ETFs, in the stock market. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for your time and being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I want to get into your story, but I also want to talk about something that I find really interesting is the first time I ever interacted with you isn't traditionally how most people come to us. Most people find SmartPro through the Ramsey network. Mm-hmm. They reach out for someone to talk about finances or the referral from a current client. Mm-hmm. The first time I ever found you guys was actually on YouTube. And
we hear that often.
Right? Okay. So, and this is really unique. That's probably the first person I've ever seen first in the public space. Mm-hmm. And then later came as a client, but there was no mutual interaction between that time. Right. So what I mean by that is my wife, Alicia, and I were looking to buy a house. We were renting in the Lakewood Ranch area. We bought a fixer-upper in Parrish. If you know the local geography around here, that's on the other side of the river, right? It's north. It's close to Tampa area. And it was more of a rural area. We bought a couple acres of land and a house from 1985. And we watched way too much HGTV, way too much Chip and Jono games.
I thought you could go
and
in
we
there.
said, we're going to put shiplap all over this bad boy, and we're going to have a farmhouse, and it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And then we brought home our first child to it, and Alicia said, get me out of this house.
Oh, that's funny.
And so within about less than a year, we had moved and we were renting. And so we were looking to purchase. We started the process in 2020 of buying a house, new construction, before it went kind of crazy with the explosion of real estate. And we were trying to find where to go, and we stumbled across y'all's YouTube page. And there was so much educational content because the area around here, buying real estate around Sarasota area, Lakewood Ranch area, there's so much to look at and to go over.
Yes.
And there's so many interesting areas and neighborhoods that it was almost overwhelming. And there's unique things about the Florida market in particular, like every region of the country has, that you do need to do a little research. Yeah. You know, when it comes to, hey, do I want a pool? Do I not want a pool? How is the house constructed? What are the materials? You know, For me, one of the things I didn't even think about when I bought the house that was from 1985, it was all stick frame construction with no cinder block. And you don't think about that because I moved here from Georgia, where that is very typical. Right. Except in Georgia, we don't have Category 4 hurricanes. Right?
Nor the insurance premium.
That's right. That's right. So it's a very different thought that I didn't have the knowledge base. And so I love that that's where you guys were. And the reason I want to bring that up is because before we get into y'all's story, what made you put yourself out there on the internet in the public eye? Like, whose idea was that?
Oh, I give you the credit for that one.
There's a story. We were on an airplane, actually. I don't know if I think it was Allegiant Airlines. We were in the back of the plane flying to a wedding in North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was listening to some podcasts, go figure, about real estate because I'm always trying to learn and educate. And there was a woman talking about how to utilize video. And we come from a background, not to get too deep into it, where like we come from a theater background. It's a long story, probably way too much for this, but I knew right away. I listened to the podcast. She was listening to music or reading a book or something, and I had the earbuds, and when 45 minutes were done, I took them out, I gave them to her, and I said, listen to this.
Okay.
And she had her 45 minutes. And
then he just turned to me and he's like, we can do this, so I think we should. And I said, okay.
That was it. That was the birth of it.
So,
yeah.
But never before that any thought of, because YouTube is where I interacted and first met you guys, right? It was those videos. But before that, there was never any thought of being in that kind of environment.
I mean, we were the first ones.
Yeah, and we were pretty new to the area at that point. So we were trying to figure out how to jump in and get that exposure that we wanted quickly, because we were still new to Lakewood Ranch. There's a lot of realtors in the area. So we wanted to stand out and be different, and we felt the same way you did. There's so much information, and there at the time was nothing to share that information with people. So we felt like we could be that resource because we went through the process of building our house here. Mm-hmm. Can we, get that info online, share it with people so that they have a place to go to learn and know, and then hopefully call us and we help them find a house.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really how it started.
And it's worked.
It has worked wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look now, a lot of your videos, there's a lot of views on them. There's a lot of interaction. You have a lot of content. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. That library is chock full.
It's 197 videos of, and I would say 95% of those are Lakewood Ranch specific.
That's right.
5% are like talking about
Florida
how to maintain a pool or but 95% of hyper focused.
Well, that's interesting because in our industry, a lot of times the talk is, whether it's the blog world or the podcast world, is you have to have a niche. Mm-hmm. What's your niche? Yeah. So for us, our niche is Ramsey fans. Mm-hmm. Like on the investment side, we work with Ramsey fans. We work with fans of their podcast, their messaging, right? That's our niche.
Right.
But for you guys, your niche is Lakewood Ranch, Florida.
Right.
Yeah, and that was a choice.
Mm-hmm. It was a choice.
That was a choice. Yeah.
What did you stumble upon that, or did you think that through? Of hey, we want to be narrowly focused in this area because we can serve our clients best.
I think it was slightly both.
Yeah.
Like we stumbled upon the area on our own, but then made the business choice decision. Yeah.
The choice for me was born from. So we're from Connecticut originally. Mm-hmm. And Connecticut's a small place. Mm-hmm. That's a small state. So there wasn't this like highly concentrated housing. Like the town that we're from is where we came from had maybe 30,000 residents.
Okay.
And that's kind of big. And, there's not enough business amongst that to say like, this is my niche.
Got it.
So you had to spread out in order to diversify and make money. Mm-hmm. Right. So I never felt like I was a hyper-focused, targeted real estate agent in Connecticut. It was very successful. I mean, we teamed up when Courtney got her license in 2016. Mm-hmm. And we did very well. But I always felt a little spread out, a little spread thin, So when we had the chance for a do-over down here, I said, it's here. I could see it. The landscape works for this. We're going to hyper-focus.
Yeah.
If I was moving somewhere, I would want to hire a real estate agent who knew everything about the product.
Yes.
Not a little bit about a lot.
That's right. That's right.
So we basically served what we would want if we were moving somewhere.
That's right. When we were looking to purchase a house, we went through so many neighborhoods. And in our area, they call them villages, right? Yeah, so if you watch your
there's
videos,
more than 50
right?
now.
They're villages, but some are gated, some are not. You learn all the different price points and what they have. And when we were looking, I knew everything about the neighborhoods we wanted to be in. Everything. Yeah. Like I did the research. I knew what neighborhoods and what kind of grass they had.
Which is a thing.
Right? It's actually a thing.
It's different, yeah.
I really wanted Zoysia grass, okay? And I got St. Augustine, but I'm still not happy about it, right?
Yeah, but Zoysia's tough. It browns out and it's tough to keep
That's
alive,
right.
So maybe you're all right.
That maybe so. But I mean, that is that kind of detail. And the thing I found about when I looked at your videos is that it spoke to that. Mm-hmm. Like there was a knowledge base there. It wasn't this like surface level information that anyone could just read in a brochure. It was like, we know these builders. We know what they're doing. We know what this neighborhood's going to look like. We know the plan of it. Right. We know the direction it's going. And you also know what areas to potentially avoid. which ones, hey, I don't think that's going to pan out like you think it might on new construction.
Right.
But let's go back to 2006. You just mentioned that Courtney got licensed in 2016, but 2016, but you've been licensed since 2006.
January 8th, I believe, 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember taking the test over Christmas time. And
what spurred you on to do that?
Become a real estate agent?
Yeah.
I was working in high-end restaurants in Philadelphia and New Jersey, just outside of Manhattan.
Okay.
And several of the waiters that had camaraderie with became real estate agents. And one particular, James Nadolski, and I know he's still working in New Jersey. He changed my life. He said, this is what I'm doing and you should consider it. But at the same time, you're making some pretty decent money right now in the waiting tables. Why don't you buy a condo? I was renting and paying a lot of money for rent. So I was like, what? Buy a condo? What are you, crazy? I was young.
Yeah.
I was 22.
Okay.
So I trusted him. This guy's making a better situation for himself. I'm gonna follow his lead, and that was the beginning of it all. So he was my first real estate agent. Bought several properties in Philadelphia, in New Jersey, in Connecticut, and just kind of realized, like, first of all, I love this.
Yeah.
I should do what James did. I think this is the career for me. So that's where it started.
So if I'm listening to this right now, I just heard 2006, starting a business, starting a career, something new. I know history. Something's about to happen a couple years later.
Yeah, I didn't have the crystal ball.
Yeah, right?
Too bad.
Right?
Yeah.
But how did you navigate that? What'd you learn from it as well?
Yeah, wow. So 2006 was like getting started. I didn't make a ton of money the first year. I remember that. I don't remember exactly how much, but 2007 was like what we just experienced a couple of years ago. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And people were buying homes. You would question, like, is this even livable?
Yeah.
And they were just, yeah, I'll take it.
Wow.
So I went from being a property owner and a waiter 3 years prior, to making the most money I had ever made in 2007. And then I give my parents a lot of credit, because when you think you're at the top and it's like untouchable, this is the greatest decision ever. And my parents said, you should pay attention to what's going on. They were watching the news. I was just selling houses.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let me pay attention. And they kind of gave me a little bit of a heads up.
Okay.
But no one saw how bad it was going to get.
Sure.
And it was rough.
Yeah.
I had a rough 4 or 5 years.
I imagine.
Yeah.
But you stuck with it.
Never stopped. Full-time real estate agent since January 2006.
Wow.
Yeah. When do I retire?
Yeah. We're getting there. We're working on that, right?
Yeah.
But it is interesting, because I think most people would have stopped. They wouldn't have made it through that.
A lot of people did.
They wouldn't have made it through it. I have a distinct memory of that time. I was still in college, and I graduated from University of Georgia, actually, with a teaching degree in 2009. And teaching, okay.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I did my student teaching at a little school in Barrow County, Georgia, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Now it's probably, Metro Atlanta's probably swallowed it up, but at that time it wasn't much. And thought that's what I wanted to do. I went home between school, and remember walking through the neighborhood we lived in, which was a very nice community called Hamilton Mill in Georgia. And I knew something bad had happened and was happening to the housing market. Mm-hmm. But at that point, I'm 20. I know it, but I don't care.
Yeah, I get it.
If that makes sense, right? Like nothing really happened to me. The state of Georgia, I was on scholarship, so the state of Georgia was actually paying for school, so that didn't go away. Yeah. Nothing really seemed to be a big deal at that point in life, right? But I remember walking through the neighborhood with my father, and I was like, what are those little boxes on the door of that house? That's a lockbox. Oh, is it for sale? Because there's no sign. No.
That's the bank's lockbox.
That's right. And then 2 more houses, lockbox.
Yes.
2 more, lockbox.
No doubt.
We did a walk around the block, and we counted like 16 lockboxes on doors.
Yeah.
In this one neighborhood in Georgia.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa.
Yeah, it was rough.
What is happening?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that like any historical event, they forget about it, right? Yeah. You have that kind of you're recency biased of things have always been good. We saw that a lot with the investment world, because 2022 was a really rough year for the stock market.
Yeah.
And most people will go, what is going on? Because they've not seen that type of volatility outside of a 2008 and a 2009 on the downside.
Right.
And so, 2020 is an outlier, but it recovered so quickly that most people were like, it was a blip. And they were so distracted by what was happening around them.
Yeah.
Like, is there going to be food at the grocery store? They really didn't care what the stock market was doing.
Right.
Right. But 2008, that was brutal.
Rough.
Absolutely brutal. I still remember my first interaction with Ramsey fans was in 2012. And I remember walking into some people's homes that was trying to help with their investments up in Holiday, Florida, which is kind of the very top end of US 19, getting out of Pinellas County.
Yep.
And kind of a more of a blue collar area, not really developed a lot.
Yep.
And I was walking to people's homes and I was like, well, how much do you owe on your house? And I'm like, well, it's, I have $340,000.
Right.
And I'm like,
and it's worth 140.
That's right.
Maybe.
It'd be worth that. It'd be worth 140 and 130. And you're like, oh,
yeah.
I don't know what you can do.
Yeah.
And it was that. It almost felt that hopeless.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh my goodness. So my first interaction with what a lot of times Ramsey talks about with loans being called in was at that time. It was actually a family member who owned a piece of property, shop on it, and the bank did a drive-by appraisal and said, hey, based on our drive-by appraisal, you owe us $80,000 because this is the value of the property and this is what it's not valued at that anymore. And had to come up with the money and refinance a home that was paid off to do it. Like that was their experience.
I've never heard anything.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
It's so there's that whole idea I think out there of real estate always goes up, or there's times where you got to really know what you got.
Yeah.
And be smart and be a smart buyer and have somebody in your corner that can help guide you to that. It's a lot of times we talk about here is we want to be the guide. We're not the hero. I can't pay off somebody's debt for them.
Right.
I can't fund their Roth IRA for them, but I can guide them in the right direction. Now that's what y'all do every day with people. So if I'm out here looking to move to Florida, buy a home, sell a home, I need a guide in my corner. Why? Tell the audience why it makes sense to have somebody that's giving them advice and coaching them and helping them in real estate when they're going through these processes, rather than this idea of, I'm just going to do it on my own. I'm going to put a for sale by owner, or I'm going to go to one of these
straight to the builder.
Right. Yeah. Or like, why do I need a guide? Why do I need help?
There's a lot of reasons. I mean, I think, first and foremost, our goal is to make sure that they make a smart investment in their future, the same way you're helping your clients make good investments. So we want to help them find the right fit for what they're looking for, but also make sure that financially it makes sense for them, payment wise, HOA fees, all these other things that they don't really think about. Beyond that, we've worked with, in this area in particular, all of the builders and all of the new construction, so we can give them an unbiased opinion of different things, whereas if you go straight to a salesperson, they work for that builder. So, of course, they could tell you everything about that neighborhood, but they may not give you the ins and outs of other things or the pros and cons.
Right. So it's funny because when you buy your primary residence, it is an investment. But most people don't look at it as an investment in terms of like, I want to buy a multifamily and I want to rent the entire thing out. Like that's a different type of investment mindset. But we always treat all of these purchases that our clients are making as we're trying to provide the best guidance from an investment perspective. Provide the information, provide the insight, and let them make the choice that makes the most sense for them. Because we always say, there may come a time, whether you're planning on it or not, where you will need to sell this home. And if that scenario arises, we want to make sure that you're positioned in the best possible place. Yeah. We're always thinking that way.
Yeah.
Always.
And back to what you originally said, there's just so much information out there about different neighborhoods, different types of homes. So our goal really is to help somebody narrow that down. If they walk in on their own and they just see this huge area of Lakewood Ranch and there's over 50 villages and they all have these different nuances, I mean, where do you even start?
That's right.
So, we get to know our clients first and see what they're looking for, and I pretty much have it narrowed down to which floor plan and neighborhood they're going to like right off the bat, but let them get there on their own. But we're kind of like matchmakers for their home.
And Lakewood Ranch at this point, I mean, it's grown so much.
It's huge.
And to give perspective to somebody, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, what's Lakewood Ranch? Because that name from where I'm, it just sounds like a neighborhood.
Right.
True. Or a town.
Or
a lot of
town,
people think
right?
it's a town.
Yes. And really, you guys explain what it is. What is Lakewood Ranch?
Okay. In a nutshell, there's Interstate 75 that goes north-south over here on the west coast of Florida. You know this. And from basically where the Manatee River is down to a portion of Sarasota, all on the east side of the highway, was this massive farm, ranch.
Yep.
Huge. Massive to a scale twice bigger than Disney World.
It is twice the size of Manhattan. And
Yeah.
it's larger land-wise than Disney World.
Okay.
Huge. And this one family basically had control and owned all of it and decided what the destiny and the future of this land was going to become as the world changed and evolved.
Mm-hmm.
So this family had an incredible vision to make a master plan community out of a ranch.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have over 50 different villages, neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Within those neighborhoods are sub-neighborhoods in many of them.
Okay.
Some of them are so large that you can get lost in them. They're just huge.
Yeah.
1,400, 1,500, 1,600 homes in one neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massive.
Huge. To the point where if you look at it on paper on a map, a printed map or a digital map, you go, oh, okay. But as soon as you get your feet on the ground here, you realize, oh, wow, what am I getting into here?
Yeah.
Not to say that someone can't figure it out on their own. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the insight that we provide being in it and we live here, we work here, we play here. If we see our clients all the time going out to dinner.
Yeah. Around the
Keep
area.
them happy, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're just walking down the street and we see people that we've worked with. It's just, or people wave at us that we don't know because they saw our videos.
That's right.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Lakewood Ranch in a nutshell. It is a massive master plan community. Huge.
And within that, there's parks and golf courses and schools and libraries and, all this other stuff that really make it feel like a true community.
That's right.
In and of itself.
Right. It's very different than other parts of Florida.
Yeah.
Very different.
Would something like the Villages be comparable if somebody heard that name of like something similar?
Same idea.
Yeah, we
Okay.
get that a lot actually because people are looking to compare the two.
Yeah.
The main difference, just for anybody listening who cares, the Villages is more of it is a master plan community, but all of those neighborhoods are...
It's all 55 up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a retirement.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the one main difference. And
Yeah.
then the other one is like every neighborhood can share every other neighborhood's pools, amenities.
Got it.
So
Okay.
it's much more fluid in that sense.
Okay.
Whereas here, your neighborhood has your amenities.
Yeah.
You don't use all
It's
the other
yours.
ones.
Yeah. Those are the primary. And the location.
Right.
That's
It's
yeah,
much more
exactly.
Yeah, where we have cities nearby,
Yep.
beaches nearby, accessible more so than I feel than the Villages.
Yes.
But it's a totally different product.
Yes.
Night and day difference.
But the master planned idea
Right.
is
Same.
similar.
Yep.
Got it. So, because a lot of people, looking at, like you said, the map, it looks pretty, I wouldn't say small,
Yeah.
but I mean, it might
Manageable.
take 25 minutes to get from one end to the other if you're driving
It
not
does.
on the
Yeah.
interstate.
Yep.
It does take 20.
Yeah.
One of the first
So-
things most people say when they get here and we meet them for the first time and we're talking, they go, oh, it's bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because on paper it looks
That's
like,
right.
okay, I can drive up one road and get to the top and the bottom.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, it's
And
it's more involved.
So we live off University, which is where our home office is for SmartPro as well. And I joked to my wife, I'm like, I wish Costco was closer. And Costco's 2 exits up.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
it takes 18, 19 minutes to get there
No
because
doubt.
it's such a big area.
Right.
And so many people have moved here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's grown so much. So I want to go back to this idea that you talked about is, look, we know the builders, we know how this works. A lot of times, and why do you need a guide? Why do you need a real estate agent to help you, right? Because there is so much nuance into it.
There is.
There is negotiation that you can still do and help when it comes to finding the right lots, what you can bring in, and maybe some of that goes away in really hot markets like we
Right.
experience, but
Right.
not all the time. And right now it could be, pendulum could be swinging back the other way.
It 100%
Right?
is.
Absolutely.
It
So-
absolutely is, yeah.
A lot of people may think, and I know I had this thought at one point, if I have a real estate agent helping me, does that make the price of my house go up when I'm buying new?
No.
Absolutely
Not up, not down.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't impact it at all.
The price is the price is the price.
On paper.
Yep.
Yeah.
So on new construction, there is no reason
Well,
not
actually,
to have.
it's definitely not going to make it go up.
Well, that, yeah.
the price is the price that I just said. Yes, but it could make it go down.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not always.
That's what I was implying.
Not always. We
Yeah.
can't promise that. Depending on every situation, builders have to hit quarterly earnings, profit margins. They might have. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
Timing is a big element of it,
Yeah.
but there is a good chance that the price could go down.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as the price that you see for a home, if you're looking to buy, the builder, especially with new construction, has a marketing budget built in there.
Okay.
If you don't use a realtor, that extra money just goes to the builder. It doesn't go back to you. It doesn't lower your price. So it's just part of their bottom line.
I mean, think of it like this: our videos that we didn't get compensated by the builder to make the video about Lake House Cove.
Yeah.
But they see we're basically like free marketing employees of theirs.
Yeah.
Like we're marketing
That's right.
this town and generating the buzz and stuff, so that's how they see the marketing budgets in their pricing.
Got it.
Right.
That makes
We're
sense.
bringing them the buyer, so they compensate us for it.
Mhm.
Same
Right.
way in traditional resale, as of right now.
Yeah, right.
When a seller is selling their home,
Yeah.
they pay both sides.
And you mentioned that jokingly because there's all this up in the air. What does the commissions look like in the
Correct.
future? And we really don't know, do you?
We
I mean,
don't know.
it's just up in the air.
No one has an answer.
We don't. I mean, it's supposed to shake out a certain way, but you know how that goes.
Mhm.
It's a slow burn. So we've heard what supposedly is going to happen, but until it really is official and we have a new set of rules, a new set of contracts,
Yeah.
we're operating as business as usual. But for us, it's no different. I mean, we have to service the client.
Yeah.
We've always said, I've said this always. I'd rather you be happy in what you purchase and live in than I don't care how much you spend.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I forget actually. I do. I forget what our clients paid for their home like 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not important. You know, and that's
Sure.
not the important part is are they happy?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because going into that, one of the things that I heard you guys say a minute ago, you're talking about people buying a home, trying to get into one quickly. We talked about, before we started recording, about some of the nuances of Florida and size of homes people want and their ideas behind it,
Mm-hmm.
locations, being to the beach, all the moving. A lot of people move from other areas of the countries. They have maybe they've pre-decided what they wanted before they've come here and see
Yes.
what actually is here,
Right.
you know, and what it looks like. So in our world, when we're talking about people with their retirement and their IRAs and their 401ks, and you hear Dave Ramsey talk about this a lot, that it's 80% behavioral and 20% head knowledge. 20% the math, 80% just your behavioral finance side of things. How does behavioral finance work in the real estate market? And you see this, I imagine that you see this through people that come in and like, I have to have this house. They walk into a place and they will overpay for it, or they will go in there and they'll do whatever they have to do to get it, and they push the envelope of what they should be buying if it's a smart purchase,
Right.
or they feel rushed, right? So the behavior of just the environment, they're rushed to get something quickly.
Right.
Have you dealt with that?
Have we dealt with it?
Have you, and how do you?
Okay. Well, the rush was the last 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was
I mean,
almost
people
every
made a
transaction.
lot of rush decisions.
Yeah.
Which I understand. I'm not faulting them. They had to.
Are you seeing regret from that?
Well, yeah, a bit.
Certain
It depends.
situations.
It depends. Like, basically, it's not a hard line because it varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. But from 2022-ish, mid 2022 to today, there's a chance that those property values have gone down.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it. I've been taking actual examples, in real life examples. I study the market a lot, just trying to figure out what's going on. So that's happening.
Okay.
So I would imagine if you've lost money in the last 2 years, you've got some regret. Yeah. Equity. You don't lose money till you sell. But
That's right.
Yeah.
And on the new construction side, I think people were somewhat pressured into picking lots that they didn't love, or maybe not building the home that they really wanted because there was just no availability. So not regret in the sense that, oh, I wish I never moved here, but okay, now that things have calmed down, let's sell this and get what we really want, because they just didn't get to make that choice at first.
Yeah.
And you learn over time, once you've lived in a home or in a community, you'll learn. Like, we've learned all this stuff just through our process, but you move into a home and you realize, the materials in this home aren't that great. Or
The quality just
the
isn't
quality
there.
isn't, or the lots. There's certain things that you learn once you're there.
That's
know,
right.
Yeah. Or a lot of people think their lifestyle is going to be beach, 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 and beach.
Yeah.
And once you live here, you know that
Yeah.
That's not real.
I mean,
You don't get there quite as often as you hope, but
yeah, once you're a real Floridian, you don't go to the beach as often as you think.
All right, so let me ask you this. When's the last time you guys been to the beach?
Oh.
May 1st, and I only know that because we went for my mom's birthday.
Yeah, we brought them to the beach.
Yes.
It was a good excuse to go.
That's
Yeah.
right. We're the same. We hosted an event down here for a lot of our advisors, and a lot of like, let's go to the beach.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
All right, it's the first time I've been to the beach in 8 months.
Yeah.
But you're right. You don't go as much as you think. And so there has to be something else. Unless you're just like, nope, I'm going to make sure that I'm ultra intentional about this.
Sure.
But if you are, you're probably not going to live even 20, 30 minutes away from the beach.
Right.
Because,
Right.
you know,
If you're going every day, you need to be a little closer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like our area is really not the right spot. If you are honest with yourself and you're going to be at the beach every other day,
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a hike
it's a little bit.
from here.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's
But most
not,
people aren't doing.
That's right. They're
Yeah.
not because
Yeah.
they're living their life.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and SmartPro Financial are not affiliated.
So I want to go back to that idea of being rushed into buying a house. I think people get that a lot when they're doing new construction because they are going in and talking to the real estate agent.
Well, they're just a salesperson.
The salesperson. That's
Yeah.
right. The salesperson for that builder in that house, right? In that model.
They're an employee of the builder.
I go back to 2020, and Alicia and I are looking to purchase a house. We went into a few different neighborhoods. I won't mention the builder, but we went into one of the builder's houses, and it was one of the setups that it was a model home. There was multiple in a row, and you had to walk through what would be the garage, and that was the office, and kind of get past the gatekeeper to look at the different model homes, right?
Yep.
And so I was like, I really don't want to do that. I don't like that.
Yep.
I am traditionally a people pleaser. I don't like having to tell people no.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that will talk to a telemarketer for 30 seconds and apologize to them that I'm hanging up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the miswiring is there, but it's there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to go in here. I don't want to do it. It's 2020. It was probably April. Okay, so this is like still real 2020, right? Okay,
Yeah.
even in Florida.
Like I don't think the mask mandate had come out yet.
No, but even in Florida, we still took it seriously for that 3 weeks. So, it was still that intense environment, and really nobody was buying. It was before the buying and selling of housing started, right?
It went dead stop.
It stopped.
People were like, "What is about to happen?"
But because we were Ramsey, because we knew what we were doing. We had the cash. We were ready to do it. We had been prepared, and we didn't stop.
Right.
So we were ready to purchase. We walk into this model home, and I asked the salesperson there, I was like, so has it been slow? And they go, oh, no, it's not been slow at all. So I immediately was like, I think you're lying. My antenna went up, right? And there was this puzzle that was half done in one of the offices of a cat, a giant cat puzzle. And Alicia
Always
goes,
good when you do cat puzzles.
And Alicia goes, well, it seems like you guys have had time to do the puzzle. And the other guy just looked like, oh, yeah, you got us,
Oh, man.
But I say that because there's always that pressure. It's like if you were to go do anything, you go to look at a car, you want to go rent an apartment, you're like, well, just for today, we have a special.
Right.
Or ending tomorrow,
Yes.
the 1 month free is gone. And you're just like, oh, my goodness. So there's that pressure and that quickness to do something. Now, then you have not only that, but then almost like that just as with such a large magnitude at the end of 2020 and 2021 where you had people moving across the country from everywhere.
Sight unseen.
Unseen.
Mm-hmm.
Sight unseen.
Explain that because that sounds so
We did it.
foreign.
Not us. We did it for
Like,
clients.
what are people just looking at pictures? They're saying, hey, can you go look at this house and say, should I buy it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
From foreign countries.
Yeah.
What in the
Swear.
world?
And not inexpensive homes. I mean, they're making a big financial decision.
Yeah.
Find us online. We have a few conversations, figure out what they want. We go take a video of this home. the one
Done,
I'm thinking
sold,
of in
we'll take
particular, it was pouring that day. It didn't even look nice. They said, yeah, we want it. Didn't see it till they closed on it that
And
day.
they loved the home and they're very happy.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Thankfully.
But we didn't meet them in person until the day we showed up for the closing at
Oh
the
my
house.
goodness.
And they hadn't seen the home until that moment either.
How bizarre was that for you?
It was crazy.
It was wild, yeah.
It was crazy. And I understand why they made that decision.
Of course, yeah.
They came from somewhere that they needed.
They needed to.
Yeah.
It was time to move to Florida. If you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
you saw that everywhere from
Yes.
all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was, and
Yeah.
it got really intense down here.
Yeah.
Where homes were going off the market before they were even put on the market.
yeah.
I mean, it was just like,
Multiple
how do you
offers,
move?
over asking,
8 to 10 offers.
give us your highest and best by noon tomorrow. I mean, things are wild. And then
Yeah.
for new construction, these builders saw the demand, so they would release 5 home sites for people to build on and
Yeah.
make them bid on them.
Well, at first I kept saying, like, this is the analogy. Like, you have a thirsty public, but you have your hand on the hose.
That's right.
Mhm.
And then it would
Yeah.
just pull the... I wrote a letter to the governor.
Yeah.
I said, I just want to let you know, here's what's going on.
Yeah. They're controlling the supply and demand to a
Mhm.
point that
100%.
they can rip people off, basically.
I didn't say it.
But that's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. There was it got out of
A few
hand.
instances
Wow.
where it got a little
Yeah.
wild, yeah.
Where I would say, like, this is not $1 million neighborhood.
That's right.
You feel free if you want to spend this $1.1 million or $1.2 million on this home, but the real estate agent saying this is not $1 million neighborhood.
Yeah.
And when the sanity returns,
Right.
just remember I said this.
Mhm. That's
please,
right.
because
Yeah.
please, you can't be upset with us.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can make whatever decision you feels correct for you, but we're gonna lay it out there.
Yeah. It's interesting. So when we bought our house, we started construction in, I think at that point it was about May of 2020. Things got really intense, really crazy.
Yeah.
Year in 2021 at closing. Before we closed, we had an offer on the house. Before we closed on it, somebody said, hey, we could flip it at closing and you can make X amount of money. And it was like, what are y'all talking about? And then I got panicked thinking I had to come up with more money because they're like the new value of the price. I was like, what's going on here?
Right.
Like, am
There
I going to
are
have to
builders
pay?
with escalation clauses in their contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
Not
see
a lot
any
of
that
them.
down here?
No, it's not a lot, but
Okay.
We've heard of experiences. We didn't have any clients.
you
that
have to
happened
be careful
but
with that.
Yeah.
Though. There's
Yeah.
a lot you have to be careful with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember reading an article on CNBC of a builder out in Texas, and it was that was
Yeah.
the deal.
Mm-hmm.
That the homes were going, by the time they got to closing, they would be maybe $200,000 more.
Right.
And the buyer would have to come to either,
Yeah.
increase the loan that they can borrow or come up with cash. And people were having to walk away from
Or
homes.
walk away, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the builders were taking so long to build it in the hopes that the people would just walk away and then they could turn around and sell
Yeah.
it for double what they just
They
started building
didn't
it for.
say that, but that's
Well,
it kind of seemed to be
right.
what was
It was
going
like
on.
it was veering on that
Not
line.
in
where it's
Lakewood
like,
Ranch,
no,
but-
no one around here.
Yeah, with 2.5 year build time.
Yeah.
We had one that was almost, was it 26 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Better be a lot of detail in that house.
No, there was not. There was no reason in my,
All right.
And then it's just interesting things. They put all the windows in because the delivery showed up on time before the roof was on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
not
just out of
typically how
whack.
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, just backwards,
So you go through this crazy market, is it stabilized now? Is it different?
Well, yeah.
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 Very different.
Yeah, I run numbers. I've done 7 straight months of very specific numbers for our 3 zip codes.
Okay.
So the Lakewood Ranch map is 3 separate zip codes. North, middle, south, basically. And we are at a 14 and 17%, so let's split it at like 15.5-ish% absorption rate, which is just like supply and demand.
Yeah.
15 to 20 represents neutral
Okay.
market. Not buyer, not seller.
Okay.
And we've had that a few months in a row to the point where like balance is good. Let's see if it sticks.
Right.
Okay.
We're there. Whereas the rest of the country's still nowhere near it.
Really?
It's still a seller's market just about.
Because there's such limited inventory
Yeah.
in most places. We benefit from having all this new construction here. So
Okay.
there are homes available.
Yeah.
Plus, there's resale because people had bought homes, probably resale, that now they're building, so they're moving into their new construction homes. So there's just a lot of movement.
Okay.
Where we're from in Connecticut, there's like nothing on the market.
Nothing.
So as soon as a home hits the market, they still have multiple offers.
Wow.
Detroit
Yeah.
is a seller's market.
Mm-hmm.
We have a friend that lives up there and he said there's nothing for sale.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So the nation needs balance and I don't have that answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Here.
We're getting there.
But there's space and there's land and there's builders and there's people wanting to be here.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, there's so many factors in our favor here, you know.
Right.
So when you find people moving to this area or wanting to move to Florida in general, there's some difference in moving here than other places. You know, I lived in Atlanta. Atlanta was hyper transient. You had people from all over the country. Housing was very inexpensive. It was actually a big shock for me because in you know, where I grew up, you could buy a house for $500,000 and it would be 4,000 square feet in a basement. And you're like, what's going on? You move here, and for a little bit, that could have been something a little bit similar, but then not even close anymore.
No.
You think those house prices are going to stick?
Well, there's a lot of variables.
A lot.
There's a lot of variables. So the thing that drove these prices up, besides 0% interest rates and, you know, money being a little too cheap, in my opinion, we had migration. Yeah. And they migrated here for a very specific reason. I would say most people that we've interacted with, it's the same reason. Yeah. And if that happens again, prices are going to move up again.
Right, because the demand will be there.
That's the big if.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
the big if.
You mentioned people migrating to Florida, and my opinion is a lot of people moved to Florida because of COVID. There was a lot of that movement of people moving here at that time. It was just a little bit of a different experience in this particular area than other places in the country. And
it was very, very different.
Very different. And I think people came here on vacation and they knew people that were in this area. And there's other states. It's not just Florida. You saw, you know, other areas, Texas. You're still seeing it in places right now like Idaho, growing a lot of people moving out of places, Oregon, Washington, California. You know, they're expensive, a lot of taxes. But politics has gotten to be so one way or another that people are actually moving based on that, I think. You know, and Florida saw that. And you see that through politics here. Very different than, you know, this used to be the most, like, who knows?
It was purple.
State, right? It
Flip
was.
a coin,
And not that way at this current time, you know, at all. So you did see this kind of shift across the board. Which is just interesting to see if that stays, if people have moved back where they were from, you know, the family that moved from Pennsylvania that goes, oh, you know what, all of our family stayed and we want to move back. You know what that looks like. But what it did is it made home prices down here, the equity in a lot of people's homes, almost double in a year and a half. And it seems absurd, but it also seems like it's not necessarily going back down to where it was for a lot of people.
No,
you know?
It's come down about 70%. Give or take. But then there are the homes that sold last year. Like there's one that sold last year for 2-3, and a year later for, I don't know exactly why they left so quickly, but 1 year later 2-4-5.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Unbelievable. Same house.
Seen all that movement. Oh my goodness. Well, you know, I think there's some interesting things too about y'all's business that I want to dive into. So you're husband and wife.
Correct.
You work together.
Yep.
All right. So there's some nuance with that. And there's obviously a lot of benefits, and there's probably some challenges you guys have had to work through. A lot of our listeners own businesses. A lot of our financial advisors have family in the business with them.
Sure.
Explain that dynamic. What's been the biggest benefit? What's been maybe a learning opportunity in that? And how has that helped you grow your business to where it is?
Go ahead.
I think the biggest benefit is that we work well together as a team, and we know what our strengths are and where we should focus. So, you know, Michael does a lot of the website, SEO, video editing, all of those things he's really good at.
Numbers.
Yeah, all the numbers. I'm kind of the more like go meet the people, help them find the house in person type thing. So we know where we need to focus all of our energy to make the business successful on both ends of that.
Right. We've identified our strengths. I think they evolved naturally. Yeah. But we're a team. Like there's a team concept out there, but it usually entails delegation. You know, there's many different business models, and I have whatever works for someone is great. This is what works for us, and I personally don't want to be delegated off to someone if I'm the consumer.
Sure.
Right. Like if I show up. And a great example is we work with you.
Yes.
Right? You know, you didn't just delegate us to somebody that.
Correct.
And it's happened to us before where we've worked with certain different businesses or whatever, and we think we have a point person, and then all of a sudden it's a team of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a surprise.
Yeah.
That's not us. And we didn't want to build our business model that way. So we're a team of 2.
Okay.
We do all of it.
Yeah. We are a team of 2.
Start to finish. So if you are working with us, you get both of us the whole time, hands-on. Because we're trying to develop a relationship with the people that we're working with. It's not just this one house that you're buying. We hope that you see us as a resource in the future and,
for anything.
Yeah, for anything that you need. And it's a long-term investment relationship-wise. So
100%. It is a long-term.
Yeah.
It is a long-term investment, like you said, on a personal level and a business level for us.
I think the challenge was probably when we first started, just figuring out what our individual roles were. Because he had the more experience in real estate. I was a teacher prior to getting my license. So I think I was intimidated at first by the whole industry to just dive into it. But moving here, focusing on Lakewood Ranch, and realizing that new construction was new to both of us. We don't have that up in Connecticut. That wasn't a thing. Right. So I took that on as my role. I was like, I'm going to learn everything I can about all these neighborhoods, the builders, all of that information. He focused on getting us up and running online, a website. He built our whole website himself.
I managed and built the whole website.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I still do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those were initially where we branched off, and then it just kind of stuck. So I did a lot with the new construction clients who were coming in for the first time.
I did resale.
He did a lot of resale.
Yeah, a lot of resale.
Or, if we're taking on a listing, he runs the numbers and works that side while I'm still dealing with the buyers that we already have. So it just works out that we both have really solid roles that work for us.
Yeah. And it's nice to have 2 people.
Oh, God, I can't imagine doing it
solo.
I
couldn't imagine doing this alone.
Yeah. And somebody you can trust.
Absolutely,
Yeah. And our financial goals are the same.
That's right.
For ourselves.
Right.
That's correct.
Like, we love working, but let's face it, like, we're working towards a goal.
Yes.
For ourselves.
As you know.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And doing a good job. So, all right, let me ask I'm going to ask a sensitive question here. We'll see how it goes, right? I'm trying to get you in trouble.
Let
here we go.
I got to adjust.
You started in 2006.
Yes.
You started in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
How did you, both, this is kind of for both of you, how did you prepare yourself to listen to Courtney's ideas that are going to be new and not have the same experience? And how did you honor that he's been doing this for 10 years with experience, but you still have new ideas to bring to the table? And how do you present those in a way that it was able to work? Because I think a lot of people, when they have somebody in the business, any business, I know our business, might bring in a financial advisor and they're like, well, we're going to do it this way, this way, this way. And you're like, there might be one of those ideas that's really great, and let's think about that.
Yeah.
But we also might need to pull that back.
Right.
But also, if you don't listen for the good new idea,
exactly,
then you're not going to move forward.
Right.
How'd you manage that tension? Was it ever there, or it had to have been in some way where there was like
tension? I don't. People always ask us this, and it's like we have like the boring answer. Like we didn't.
No, I mean, I think there's been moments, right, where we're trying to come up with new ways to market or get out there and get more exposure. And technology's not technology, but social media is not his strength.
That's
for
all
sure.
her. She's so good at it.
So he'd say like, oh, we got to get on TikTok, and I'm like, no, we already have like 4 social media channels. Let's focus on So I think it was more like there's just so much out there that we're trying to kind of figure out what we do need to focus on. I leaned on him heavily when we first started because he knew the contracts and the process and all of that stuff. But then I think that role sort of shifted here when I did focus more on new construction, because then he would have to go meet people and he'd come to me and say, I don't know what I need to know about this neighborhood. Like, give me a quick crash course so I can go meet them.
Her brain's like just a sponge and she remembers everything.
Okay.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So like, I'll know a lot.
Yeah.
She knows way more.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So I defer to her a lot for that stuff. I really do.
So you know what kind of grass is in what kind of neighborhood like me.
Well, see, I'm the weirdo.
He's the grass guy.
See, I'm the weirdo who knows the grass.
That's it? Okay.
I'm the one who knows.
But I know the amenities and the HOA fees.
That's awesome.
And But no, we definitely have our different strengths.
Yeah.
But I like up until 2016, like I went through, this is amazing, this is horrible. Okay, I see like it's sustainable maybe in 2014 to get on. And I think I was reaching like a little bit of burnout. Yeah. Which is an easy thing to do in this business. Yeah. So her being fresh and new, I was really ready to hear whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But at first, when we teamed up, again, this is up north in Connecticut, so it's a very different market there, but we didn't have people moving to the area. So the way that you get leads is very different. He told me that I had to do cold calls. This is probably the most tension we ever
I
had.
wonder you got on YouTube.
This.
Okay.
Oh my
Right?
God, I forgot
So,
all about this.
I had to call these, and I hate doing this.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's the worst.
I get so nervous. I know I'm pissing people off, and I'm like, please don't be mad at me. I'm just calling to see if you want to sell your house. So that was miserable, and I hated it. So then when he came up
She had the Britney Spears microphone.
all day long, I'm
The
just calling
headset.
people who are yelling at me and hanging up. I'm like, I should have just stuck with teaching. This
right?
is terrible.
We got business from it, but it's blood money.
Right.
That's right.
It hurts.
Yeah. So when he came up with this YouTube idea, and the whole premise behind it is that the way you felt too, you know these people already, right? So when you meet them, it's not a cold call anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you have a relationship because you're like, oh, I saw you on
That's right.
online. I know what you guys are all about. So
Yes.
you feel more comfortable talking to those
Yeah.
people. So that shifted the game for me, for sure. I felt a lot more comfortable.
That
after-
one
after
flight,
we-
that one
yeah.
airplane ride
Yeah.
changed
Yep.
so much.
On Allegiant, because nothing says success like an
Like
airplane
Allegiant.
flight on Allegiant.
Sitting in the back next to the toilet.
Like, oh man.
But they do serve drinks on that airplane, so
Yeah.
it's just-
That
So there you go.
helps a
Okay,
little,
yeah, right. So a few more I want to kind of rapid fire a few things at you guys. You know, there's a lot of people who are listening that they know Ramsey and they know that he talks about retirement and investing. You know, he says put 15% of your money aside, retirement accounts. He also talks about real estate. And, you know, Ramsey says that he owns $600 million of real estate.
Awesome.
Like, it's not that it's some afterthought. Like, maybe you should do this.
Right.
A lot of people are very confused by what that means. There's so much out there. There's so much out there. I was just talking the other day about how you can get on Instagram or, you know, wherever your social media feed is that you prefer and, you know, look at real estate investing. And there's people bragging about how much debt they have, bragging about how much, you know, all the loans and this idea of it's all about cash flow. But then and people get kind of like, whoa, I just need a couple $1,000 and I'm going to be able to get in the Airbnb business or something. And it just seems to be very, like, a lot of distraction, a lot of different ideas, and a lot of noise.
it's high risk,
Yeah, it's high risk. You know?
and that's by choice.
Yeah. So explain for a minute, because for us, you know, the advice we give when somebody wants to be in real estate, which is slow advice, is build up cash, buy a property, don't use leverage.
Hold the property.
Yeah.
It's a long game. Like, it could be any game you want it to be,
Right.
but over time, the home will grow in value.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it keeps up with inflation. It has good markets, bad
Yeah.
markets. You know, and if you have someone else paying for that asset via a tenant,
Mm-hmm.
great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's rather simple.
Yeah. Yeah. But what are most people doing? Are they looking to do the flip? Is it looking to, and not the flip with new, but like, you know, I remember that was the rage back before 2008, right? It was buy an old beater house.
Well, there were so many
Flip it.
beaters caused by the
That's right.
recession.
That's right.
The Great Recession.
Buy and flip, buy and flip, buy and flip. So people were saying, well, I got to get a house, I got to get a crew in there,
Yep.
redo it, and then flip it within 30 days or 60 days, and there's
Right.
this pressure to sell it, or
Right.
you had to, you know.
Yep.
So is that back, or is it more so?
No,
Okay.
Not here.
Not here.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's a lot of opportunity for that here because prices are pretty high.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not gonna
Right.
buy something low with the thought
Yeah.
that you can flip it quickly and make profit.
And there's not a lot of distressed properties here.
Did you see it in the Northeast?
Tons.
Yeah,
I had one
very
client
often.
that that's all he did.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he would make, like, you know, 50, 60 grand a house.
Yeah.
Just cheap turnover.
But just high risk if you have a time
Yeah.
where it doesn't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he outlaid his own cash to buy the homes, outlaid his own cash to fix the homes. So he was his own bank. And then there was a few times he did hard money loans, and that's, you know, the risk there.
Yeah.
It's high risk.
So then the other idea that you see is vacation rentals, right? It's
Yeah.
short-term rentals.
Right.
And you know, you hear people going, "Hey, I'm making $400 a night on this, you know, this house in this
Right.
desirable area."
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that? Have you seen success from that with clients?
Yeah, I think that's what we see more often here,
Yeah.
specifically. You know, people that want to buy, especially with the new construction neighborhood, sometimes you can get a really great deal with one of the builders if they have an inventory home they're trying to sell and there's incentives. So
Right.
you could buy something, get a solid renter in there. You know, it's a long-term investment at that point.
Yeah.
Or these condos in golf communities, as we know, because we did it ourselves.
Yeah, we owned a property in a golf community. It was a condo,
Okay.
and we rented it. We had a management company. We were pretty hands off.
Mm-hmm.
So we have firsthand experience doing
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So you had it, so then you sold it.
We sold it when the market went up.
Okay.
For us, it was a short game that time.
Well,
but-
yeah, it wasn't the intent, but we just
Yeah.
saw the growth so quickly, and I didn't want to risk riding it on the way down either.
That's right.
So
Okay, so then that was more so, which I've heard this in Florida, so I don't know if it's everywhere. It might just be a Florida thing, where people buy homes, maybe newer homes, in a neighborhood that's being developed, or we saw this maybe 2020, and then you're selling it for the equity in 3 or 4 years. You sell the house, and you go, okay, I bought a house at $300,000. I'm selling it at $500,000.
yeah,
I got the two. Versus, I want to have renters in here and build up a portfolio of rental properties for
Right.
the next 30 years.
Mhm.
right.
Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, because I mean, like
It's essentially
in
what
our
we did.
it's what
Right.
we did.
Yeah.
I thought let's keep this for 15 years.
Yeah.
And then I thought, how much higher can it go?
Yeah.
We may as well take this money and reinvest it in different
That's right.
ways.
That's right.
We just changed our perspective. But you got to be careful because the short-term rental space is becoming regulated.
Yeah.
By government.
Like cities not wanting it.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh yeah. Like I know in Sarasota right now, they're changing
They're
laws.
fighting it. They
Yeah.
don't want the Airbnb.
Or just the way that they're
Transiency,
operating.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
HOA is a small form of government.
Mhm.
And the rules in an HOA can change like that.
Got it.
So you got to be careful
Yeah.
because your investment, the destiny of it, is not all in your hands.
That's right.
Mhm.
Well, government regulation never changed anyone's business, right?
No, never.
We'll see.
Just every day. So,
Yeah.
and when you guys see people buying homes, just give an estimate. How many people are coming in and buying a home with cash versus in our world, if somebody's going, we say buy a home with cash, pay a house off. Like we want people to do that.
Yeah.
If you can't, a 15-year mortgage with 20% down is what we would recommend.
Right.
And we don't want people to spend more than 25% of their income on a mortgage payment. And then, but most people probably, I don't know how to say most people, but then the 30-year is pretty typical around the country, right?
Right.
The 30-year mortgage.
Yeah.
What do you guys see?
And the data that I was referring to, it's hovering around 47, 48% cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this area specifically.
Wow.
Lakewood Ranch.
And I just reading a stat, the different metros in Florida, Miami, Jacksonville, Pensacola, different. That stat's pretty spot on. It's even higher in Jacksonville for some reason.
Interesting.
54% or something like that.
Okay.
Cash. And then as far as the 15-year note, they don't track that. So
Okay.
we don't have access to it, but
What we see on contracts, I would say it's predominantly 30.
30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like rare 15s.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody's going to use debt, it's going to be a 30-year mortgage. Do you think a lot of people do that because they're not staying in their homes as long?
Yeah.
And it comes down to that monthly payment. I think the interest rates are killing people. The price and the interest rate together combined.
Yeah.
If you do a 15-year note, that payment's it's really high.
Yeah.
Higher, yeah.
It's
Pushes
high.
people to the brink.
It's become tough.
Do you see people moving like every 4 years, 5 years? What do you?
Yeah.
It's pretty common.
A
Yeah.
lot of sideways movement here.
Really?
One
Yeah.
neighborhood to another within Lakewood Ranch, but just a different.
Upgrading homes or just new home?
Both.
Upgrading.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of upgrading. Some downsizing, but lots of upgrading.
Let's dive into downsizing because I have a lot of clients that when we get to retirement, I tell them, don't retire with a mortgage. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Most people are living off of, Social Security,
Right.
maybe a pension. Very few people have pensions, maybe a pension, and then, a couple $100,000 in retirement accounts.
Right.
Right.
This is like typical.
It's a tight market.
Right? It's not like everyone's got $3 million or drawing money off.
Right.
That is not typical in our marketplace. We don't serve the ultra high net worth at SmartPro. We serve everyday American families that need hope because there's nobody else that's willing to talk to them. Because they don't meet some stupid minimum that another firm has of you have to have $1 million to come talk to us. We find that to be just stupid.
Right.
So we don't deal with that side of the business. Doesn't mean we can't. It just that's not our market. So
you're not focused solely on
That's
high
right.
net worth.
that's most people, especially in our area,
Right.
Yeah.
especially in Sarasota, Naples, right? Everyone's going for that, and you get the
Right.
come meet us at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse for that kind of environment, right?
Right.
We're not that way. Doesn't mean we don't like steak. It just means that's not our market, right?
Yeah.
So
And you're
We're
working
going
to get
Outback
people
instead.
to that
that's
high
right.
net.
We're helping people grow their wealth potentially, right, over time. So what we see is pretty typical. And if somebody's got a couple $100,000 in a retirement account and social, I can't have them spending $2,000 of that on a mortgage.
Right.
You have to pay your mortgage off. So that's what I always coach people on. Pay off the mortgage. Cannot have that fixed expense on a fixed dollar amount. A lot of times people don't see a path to that. They say, well, I'm going to downsize. Mm-hmm. Is that real? And the reason I say that is because every time I hear people, I look at it, I'm like, what are you going to downsize to? Because new homes right here, you're in a 3,000 square foot home. Mm-hmm. That's 800,000 or 600,000 or whatever it is. In a new construction, because most people are like, I don't want to deal with something I have to repair, right? So I'm going to something newer because they're selling an older home.
Yeah.
New construction could be 600,000 instead of 3,000. It's 1,800 square feet
for a small house. Right.
Yeah, that's the discrepancy, I think. Downsizing doesn't necessarily mean down pricing. That's
right.
Not a word, but you know what I mean? Like,
interesting. Yeah.
The price might not be lower. So I mean, we just had a couple that moved from up north. They did downsize. Their house there was, 3,500 square feet. They bought one that's 2,200 square feet, but they probably paid just as much as they did to sell that one, or maybe a little bit less. So it didn't necessarily change their financial situation, just their location and the size of their home.
Downsizing to the traditional thought process would have to require migration as well.
Yeah.
You'd have to pick a different market where you could take your money and make it really work for you. Mm-hmm. If you're just going to downsize like from within this here, like you're going to stay home, and I think this applies anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
I don't think so either.
It's not going to work, which is funny. I read a stat today in one of the magazines where 78% of the boomers and the retirees are choosing to stay home instead of buy and retire or go to, they're retiring in place.
Yes.
If you've seen that.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing.
I mean, we've seen it with our own parents too. I mean,
It's been challenging for both of our parents. And they hit the retirement age in a challenging time frame in economy.
Right. Yeah.
So if I'm somebody who is a new buyer or wanting to buy a house.
First time home buyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
What should I look for immediately off the bat? What's my trap, and what do I need to look for a good purchase to make this something that's a blessing, not a curse?
Yeah.
Is it
Well, I feel really bad for first time home buyers right now, but I want to give them a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
I say get in the game, no matter how small you have to start. I think just get started playing.
Yeah.
Buy what you can afford, not necessarily what you think you want right off the bat. It may not be your forever home or the perfect,
it's not going to be your
luxurious thing you're imagining, but get what you can get.
Don't try to keep up with your parents.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you gotta. It's it's such a function of what's your outlay going to be, like how much is this actually going to cost you.
Mm-hmm.
The HOA fees around here, you've got HOA, CDD, the taxes, which is a very unique way of calculating taxes. Right. So there's a lot of variables that go above and beyond just principal and interest, and you got to be careful. But I just want young people to get started. I sold a townhome to a young couple, a little over $300,000, which I guess is the new starting price for first time buyers. Which even that's like on the cheap end, on the low end. But it's a start. It's it got them in.
That's right.
And there's still ways to get a quality home, at that price point. If you have someone like us that can guide you to make sure you're making a good decision there too, because you don't want to just find the cheapest option because that's what you think you can afford, and then you're in a mess. Like you said, it's a nightmare situation, quality wise.
That's right.
You don't want to.
Also,
sacrifice that.
I very early on I got my hands dirty. I fixed up houses. I put in countertops and backsplashes and ripped things out. And, maybe the new generation doesn't really like getting their dirt under their fingernails, but I think it's time to do that too, because you can buy something that may need a little work. And
need some TLC.
And do it over time with your own hands, and the pride of ownership, and just, it's huge. We need to reinstill that in the next generation, I think.
Right.
I agree. So one of the things I think if you're listening to this is there's hope out there. There's a lot that you need to understand. You need to have a guide in your corner that knows what they're doing, somebody with some experience, a team. I think that you guys are a great example of what people should be looking for when they're trying to go, hey, who can I find that's going to help me in this process? Whether it's new construction, selling a house, you're getting ideas of, hey, should I buy additional property for an investment purpose? Like, have somebody that knows the data, the analytics of the marketplace, like you spend time looking at, but also knows the quality of the neighborhoods in the area and what's going to be desirable. Like all these things come into play.
Yes.
It's not just the price and that's it. That's a big part of it, because you don't want your home to be a curse.
Right.
You do want it to be a blessing, whether it's an investment or whether it's your primary residence, right? You want this to be something that you're happy about and proud of, and you don't have this weight and burden of the cost of owning weigh you down so much that you can't do anything else in life. Right. So this it's very important. I like that you guys will work with people and show them, hey, our listeners, we didn't talk about numbers, but you guys are very, very, very successful at what you do.
Thank you.
And you've built a fantastic business that, and sell millions and millions of dollars worth of homes, but you're also helping somebody get their starter home.
I love that. I miss that.
Yeah.
I do. I miss that.
I just think that's special, because have somebody with the expertise and the knowledge, but also willing to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to just cater to this one demographic group.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, we're going to help people wherever they're at get going, because as many of those $300,000, $250,000 starter townhomes, you've sold $3 million, $4 million, homes here as well. Sure. And this marketplace. So how do people interact with you guys in the future? They're looking to buy and sell and find good quality advice. How do they interact with you? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Right, and social.
Yeah, I mean, everything is Sold by Chenkus. That's our brand, I guess. So if you look at our YouTube channel, it's Sold by Chenkus is the YouTube channel name. Our website is soldbychenkus.com.
Yeah.
Our Instagram handle is Sold by Chenkus. So if you find it somewhere, you'll probably find all of them. But yeah, that's the best way to find us, and just reach out, and we're happy to answer any questions about anything we can.
The contact page on our website has phone, text, email, you name it. Comes right to our pocket.
Okay, great. And I think if you're listening to this and you're going, okay, I do want to have some advice, I do want to buy, sell, our listeners are coming from that Ramsey world, and you guys are also in that as well. We
followed the Ramsey.
Right? Paid off the house.
We paid off
right?
our house. Yeah,
like as he would say, you're weird people, right? You have a paid off house.
Cars and house. Both
How awesome is that, right?
Yeah.
So somebody that also is aligned with what we're doing here at SmartPro Financial by helping people get out of debt, build investments for the future, build investments with their retirement accounts, but also in the real estate world as well. So thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
It was great.
Yeah, I appreciate it.